Hello everyone, Jennifer L. Scott here and welcome to the Daily Connoisseur. I have such an exciting guest for you today. Artist Jose Trujillo and I sit down for a chat about what it takes to be a modern artist in this day and age. This video will appeal to not only artists, but all people who have a desire to reach a goal in their life and to ultimately do what they love. This is a wonderful conversation. You don't want to miss it. You can find Jose at josetrujilloart.com, and you can also find him on eBay. Just type in Jose Trujillo and you will see his gorgeous paintings and bid on them. So without further ado, let's jump into my discussion with Jose. Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Connoisseur, and I am so excited for our very special guest today. And I am a collector of Jose's art, and he has been described as a modern Monet. So we are so excited to have you here on the Daily Connoisseur. Welcome, Jose.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Jennifer. Thank you for allowing me to be in the space.
Of course. And not only are you a world famous artist, but you also have a YouTube channel as well. So I will leave all of your links down below, your art and your YouTube channel, so that people can check you out.
Very cool.
Yes. So the reason why I invited Jose to be on the channel is because I own 4 of your paintings. So does that make me an official collector?
I think so. I think the number is around 8, but 8. 4 is very good. I'm
on my way. I'm on my way. I wanted to show you. I bought my first one. People see this all the time because I keep this behind me. I bought this like 13 years ago, I think.
Oh, wow. I love that.
So
one of the early ones.
It's one of the early ones, and you signed it, but it's really faded now because this is so old. And I didn't frame it because I keep it in this case that doesn't, I have it in the back. But anyway, yes, this is Prim Peony. This is my first Jose Trujillo piece. And I have 2 other ones, but I'm going to show everybody my favorite one. Okay, are you ready for this? This is my absolute favorite.
Oh, I love that one. That was a recent one, right? It's not that recent.
I just bid on this on eBay. We're going to talk about eBay in this conversation. But
very cool.
This one it's called the Tricolored Blackbird, and it's an oil on canvas. This is like my favorite painting in the whole house, and I have a lot of paintings. But I love birds and the colors in this. I look at this every day and it makes me happy. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's get into our discussion. First of all, how would you describe your art as an artist? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I guess expressionism is what most people use now. I started out by trying to describe myself as a modern impressionist, but as time has gone by, I realized that I fall more into the cracks of expressionism, somewhere around there.
So can you define for people who are not aware, what is the difference between expressionism and impressionism?
Yeah, absolutely. So to put it in the simplest forms is impressionism resembles a little bit more reality. It's a little bit more realistic. So it's blurry, but a little bit more realistic. And expressionism, it has very little to do with trying to convey reality. You can, but it's really not. It's a bit more abstract.
Yeah,
just headed a little bit more abstract.
And I do see that because I followed you. I do see that in your paintings. They are evolving a little bit toward that. And I love that. That's what shows how talented you are, because this is how you know somebody's talented. Because you see something that looks seemingly simplistic. And some people might say, I could do that. That's just some brush strokes. Like I'll put an inset of one of my paintings by Jose here. It's 2 sailboats side by side. And if you look at it closely, it's a series of brush strokes. And when you look back, it's clear what it is. But it's like, how do you do that? That's not easy. I could never do something like that. So it really does require a talent.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I've done that myself when I see someone's work and I'm like, oh my God, I could do something like that. and then I tried and failed miserably because they, even though it might be abstract or expressionist or whatever type of ism, they've been kind of hacking at that for 10, 20 years, you know, and so they perfected it. And when I try to do it, it's like nowhere near, like nowhere, right? It's just, it fails so bad.
Well, we can only be who we are, and we can only, do what we're meant to do. It's so true, because I'm an author and I write books. And a lot of times people will say to me, I'm writing a book right now and it's really hard. How do you write books? And it's like, it is hard. But if you're doing what you're meant to be doing, it's not that hard for you, and it's enjoyable and it comes easy. But that doesn't mean that if you go into a different genre, like if I tried to write historical fiction, I would find that incredibly difficult. You know what I mean? It's like same thing with art. If you tried to do surrealism or something maybe different, cubism, you might find it difficult. I don't know if you would, but
that's right. No, yes, it's exactly that. Absolutely.
So you're so prolific. Where do you get the inspiration for your art?
I think it's been a mixture. It's been a mixture of different things, kind of making a little secret sauce, right? That I've created over the years. Anywhere from looking at famous artists' work and asking myself not how I would copy that, but how I would reframe that. And so I think part of being an artist is you or anything that you do professionally, you have to be really prolific at it. Otherwise, you can't really move forward. I remember listening to what's the name of this famous author that writes all these books? I forgot his name. The one that wrote it, I think.
Stephen King.
Stephen King. There you go. Thank you. Because I don't read fiction, so he mentioned something similar. He said that if he doesn't write something like 6 hours a day, like he has to do it every day. And I think it's part of it. And so I have these little different things that I do. Now it's kind of in my mind and it's already been cooked. But I would do this different things, such as going on Google and watching video tutorials of other artists, or watching famous paintings by any of the famous expressionist artists or whatever. And the more you do it, the more you start cooking something, your own style, and you start to asking yourself the right questions. Not how do they do that and how can I do that? No, how would I retell that story if with my own voice? How could I retell that story? And so I think it's endless when you think about it that way.
That's so true. That even applies to content creation on YouTube. If you think about it, there's only like a number of subjects that your channel will ever really do, but it's always about getting better at it and telling it your way. I totally relate to that. So when did you discover your artistic talent? Was it when you were a child?
Yeah. I mean, I had a very typical, artistic story. When I was probably about 10 years old, I knew that I could draw and I could paint. Looking back, I'm sure I did a horrible job, but in my mind, I thought I did, and so I was convinced that I was an artist for some reason. And I remember having this it was probably earlier. It was probably more like 8 years old. I had this very strong feeling that I was an artist. And then it was just there, kind of lingering, and I didn't move towards it, but it was there. I knew that I was very good with drawing, and so in my mind, I had this identity. I'm an artist. But it wasn't until I was about 13 years old that I started really leaning into it. And then I took it very serious, right? Like from 13 to like 19, I was very serious about being an artist. I let it go a bit. I come back to it. And then at 30, I was like, no, I'm going to do this, full time. I'm going to go, hard at this. And,
yes. So that leads to my next question, literally. When did you decide to pursue art as a full-time career? So was it when you were 30?
It was what no, well, it was before that, but it was when I was 30 that the stars aligned.
Yes.
It was way before that. It was a solid 5-6 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to find a way. I'm going to figure it out. And I went through 2 different jobs before that.
Mm-hmm.
And it, the typical thing, instead of taking lunch, I was doing research. I was on the computer doing research, or I was reading a book. I was trying to find out how I could make that leap, because not because I was miserable at my jobs, but because I was miserable at the job, any job.
Mm-hmm.
And so
anything
so
other than what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Anything else.
Totally.
And so I and I would question I would ask myself these questions like, is it me just trying to look for something easier and whatnot? And definitely not. I mean, there's nothing harder than going and doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And it's especially when you're launching, that, most people would probably everybody that has done something on their own, it's 16, 18-hour days when you're launching it.
Yes. Right. And I think that's what's so interesting about your story is that there's, and I think this is true of modern artists. There's 2 parts to it. There's the creative art that you do, the sitting down in the studio, the painting, and then there's the marketing and the selling and the eBay. We'll talk about eBay, but also the other ways that you sell your art. And that is I feel like it's a very modern thing for artists, depending on who you are. But again, I relate to this as a writer because, I market my own material on YouTube, and I really love that. I like that business aspect of it, in addition to the art of it. So let's talk about eBay. Because I don't know if people know, but that's how I found you on eBay. I buy all of your paintings by bidding on them on eBay. And I'll have to say that I do own 4 of your paintings. However, I have probably bid on about 25 of your paintings, but I lose. And so now I have a strategy. If I really want the painting, I'll put my bid in, and then I'll set the alarm for when it ends. And I just wait, and they go up, 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 and then finally at like 11, they usually end at like 11 p.m. my time. So at like 10:58, I'll get in there for the kill. And then I win the painting. And I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. But for a long time there, I kept losing the bids. And I thought, wow, okay. And it was a little frustrating. But you have so many paintings on eBay that if someone really wants a painting, they can get it, So let's talk about eBay. When did you decide to do eBay? Why is it a successful strategy for artists, in your opinion? What are the upsides, the downsides? Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started eBay. I started there about, I want to say about 8 years ago, somewhere around 8 years ago. And I was already a full-time artist, and someone had asked me, hey, why don't you check out online? Why don't you go and check out, other stuff? And they asked me about eBay. I had done a form of, sorry for the noise in the background. I had checked eBay out already, but nothing about artwork, just other stuff, selling other stuff. And so what got me in on eBay is I started noticing that everybody was doing the same thing. And as an artist, you become kind of, you start observing a lot. And I realized everybody was doing the same thing, which there was this movement of artists known as the daily painters. They were creating a painting and then blogging about it and then putting it on eBay and starting the auction at like $1 or something like that. And I saw so many artists doing this, and I was like, that's a great strategy, but I'm too late to that. The people that probably started it, they started that first. I keep saying started. The people that started that first, they were probably they had a following or an audience or something like that in their blogs. I came to terms with that, and so I was like, I need to talk about it. I need to go into it. I need to go into it in a different form because I feel like I'm late to it. And I was told by just about everyone, you're late to eBay.
And you weren't late to eBay. I feel like looking back now. People might feel now they're late to eBay, but you were not late to eBay.
Right. Right. But so many artists were telling me you're late to eBay because there was this time where we were putting stuff on eBay and it was the auctions were just skyrocketing.
Okay.
And I was asking myself, why was that? And of course, because it was the early years of eBay. Okay. And so there was a scarcity, right? Because there was only a handful of artists. And when I got into it, there was so many. I mean, if you put something, there's another, 20,000 artists putting something the same minute. And so I was like, I like the strategy that they're using, but I don't think that's going to work for me because I'm going to be competing with everyone else. And so I realized something. I realized I needed to tackle it a different way. So I sat down and I started chopping down ideas. If I were to use this platform, how would I do it? And so I would erase and go back. And anyways, to make the long story short, I started writing down what I was good at. What am I good at? So that I can have an unfair advantage in this marketplace. Something that no one else has.
That's great advice.
Yeah. And so this is something that I've told artists for a long time. Like you may be a great blogger. You may have a great YouTube channel. Use that. You have to use something that not everyone else has. You may do great TikTok videos. I don't know, whatnot. But use something that everyone else doesn't have that. It's not available to them. So one of the main things that was available to me that I realized wasn't available to everyone else was and it wasn't my work ethic, and it wasn't the fact that I painted so much. It was the fact that I was willing to paint so much and put it at auction. And that willingness, that was my unfair advantage. Most people were not willing to do that. God forbid you put a painting on eBay and started at $1. Even worse if you put 5 or 10. And so I started doing that.
Yes. And just to break in really quickly. So I guess if you started on 8 years ago, then this must only be 8 years old. But I thought this was way older. But maybe I don't know. Time is fine. You know better than I do. So I bought this on eBay. So this must be.
It might be 9 years now. My wife would probably tell me more.
Okay, maybe it was 9 years. I thought I bought this when I was in my 20s, but I guess not. So I remember that I did score this for an amazing price. And that was because you were willing to put it on. And for somebody like me or people who would like to collect art, but they're intimidated by it, they think they don't have a budget for it. You can find really good deals on eBay, and so yeah, this I can't remember what I paid for it, but it was a really good price,
Yeah.
And I appreciated that you put these things on there and honored them and allowed people to do that. And I think that that's part of your success now, because now your paintings go for a lot more.
Right. And I thought it was, it was definitely an unfair advantage because most artists were putting one painting and then kind of hoping for that one painting to rise in price. And what I did was, I'm going to paint for 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, I'm going to paint for this time, and I'm going to do as many pieces of artwork that I can without being in a hurry. Just being very focused. It's very important because I see artists doing it now, but they're in a hurry, and so now the work is just not, it's not there's not enough care in the work, and so the prices won't go up.
Yes.
And so I told myself that I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to create. And so the most I could do was like 2 paintings, a day. And then I started moving more, and it just kind of started cooking, and it got to a point where I was doing 20 or more paintings.
Wow.
In a single day. And so, I mean, you can imagine if the average price point back then was $70 or $80 or whatever. I started looking at averages too. Like some paintings I would lose, other paintings I would win them at $200-300 or whatever. And I mean lose not as I lost. No, because it's still a gain. But they would go for, I don't know, $20, right? And then something else would go for $200, like 10 times that. And but there was an average between all of them. And I started feeling like man, this is a great strategy. This is something that anyone who's willing to work and willing to put a focus in their work can do it.
Yes, I had an old acting teacher who told me the cream will always rise to the top. And I always remembered that. And it's you just keep consistently putting out good work. And I like what you said there about the quality being important. And sorry, I'm relating everything you're saying to writing, but that's my world. So I can relate to this because it's the same thing with the book market. I originally started out self-publishing my first book. And then we ended up selling it to Simon and Schuster. And then all of my subsequent books have been published by big publishing houses. And so what I've noticed in the self-publishing world is that sometimes it just depends. Sometimes there's really high quality books where there's a lot of thought into it. And then sometimes it's like you're saying, they're trying to make the money. So they're just putting those books out there and they're really low quality books because everybody can do it now. So it's like, anybody can be an author. So there's a lot out there that's just not up to par. And so it's probably the same thing with the painting, you know, and I just firmly believe no matter what you're doing, the quality has to be there. The passion has to be there, whether you do it yourself or whether you're aligned with, you know, big companies or whatever.
People always ask me that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
People always ask me this, Jose, for that strategy on eBay, what should I do? Should I do quality or quantity? And I'm like, you're looking to cut a corner. That's a problem. Don't do quantity if you can't do quality first. Do quality first, and then maybe you can repeat it. But if you're going for quantity, and you don't dial in the quality, it's always going to be bad work. Mm-hmm. No matter how much you can make 1,000 paintings, and there'll be 1,000 bad paintings. You know, but if you aim for quality first, you know what, I'm going to do the best I can do without being a perfectionist, and then maybe I can do another one, or maybe I can do a little bit more, maybe I can do a drawing, maybe I can, you know. So you start moving. Yes. You start moving, but with that, it's both. You need both. And
the more you practice the quality, the easier it comes. So it's like you were saying before, you would only be able to produce 2 paintings in a day. Now you might be able to produce 20. Doesn't mean they're lesser quality. It's just that you've refined your craft and it's easier for you to do it. That makes complete sense to me.
Right. And the mental blocks get out of the way, because in the beginning, exactly what you said, in the beginning, we have these ideas of this has got to be perfect, all of this. And then as time goes by, you start realizing, oh, okay, that's fluff. That's fluff. That's fluff. Mm-hmm. This is the cream. And you start focusing on the cream. It's that 80-20 rule.
Tell people what the 80-20 rule is.
So essentially what it is, it's 80% of your success comes from 20% of your efforts. 80% of your gains. So for example, there's artists that I've coached artists in the past. I stopped doing that a little bit ago, but I was coaching artists and I was teaching this, right? I hear a lot that artists would tell me, hey, I was in the studio for 10 hours. And I would tell them, I bet you only painted for 2. They're like, no way. I was in front of the easel. And I'm like, no, until you time yourself and you realize what you really like, when that brush, you know, hits that canvas, that's when you time yourself and you realize how much you're really painting. Mm-hmm. 80% of it is, I'm going to go get a drink of water. Right. I'm going to go do search online and on and on. And if you can focus on that 20% and make it larger and larger every time, good things happen.
That's so good that's that focus. And a lot of artistic people especially tend to get distracted by things, I think. So, by the way, are we in your studio? What are we looking at behind you?
Oh, yeah. It's where my studio here.
Wow. Look at all those canvases. I guess you do need a lot of canvases, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the best part of being a full-time artist, would you say? And what's the worst part? Tell us both.
The best part would be you get to challenge yourself and find yourself. You get to really start finding your water lines, to put it in those terms. You can always do more than you think you can, and in different ways. There's always the next level, and you can't wait to reach that. And that, to me, that's the best part. that next level. That, you know, in your case, it would be, I'm gonna write this book, right? And I can't wait till people fall in love with it, or it hits the market, or this or that, and, you know, or become a bestseller on Amazon, or I don't know. It's pretty much the same thing. And being an artist, I can't wait for this painting to reach this place, or I can't wait till I don't know, I can create more work, or earn more income, you know, or whatever it is. There's always a next level in everything that you do. The worst part of it is that there's always a next level. and so
That's
and
funny.
so you can never really rest on your laurels. That's the worst part.
That is so true. That's so true. There's unlimited upside potential when you are an artist and your own boss. And the wonderful thing is that it's constantly exciting. I mean, it's never boring. It is just always exciting. And whatever project you're working on is so exciting. But that is so true that that's also the worst thing as well.
One of the things I hear a lot from artists is man, I can't wait to become a full-time artist so that I can have all this time. And I'm like, no, that's not really what happens. And you know, you're gonna figure it out very soon that that's not how it happens. You actually have a lot less time than you think.
Yeah, I feel like when you work for somebody else and, you know, your day is done, you can go home and watch TV and have some ice cream and relax. I feel like my plague is I never relax. I am constantly thinking about my work, which is not good. But yeah, I can see why that could be.
It's part of it, yeah.
So who is your favorite artist, or top three, if you can't choose one? Who would you say? Of all time.
Of all time. Okay. So I've had a couple. I've most of the artists that I grew up paying attention to were French artists, whether the romantics or the impressionists, realists. And so my focus was more on there. So a lot of my ideas or whatnot came from, and it wasn't really because I was like, oh my God, you know, I want to go to France or something. No, I was gifted a book, and it was about French artists, and so that was the first thing that I had in front of me about artists, and so it kind of it anchored me with those, you know, with that specific group of artists. So I would say is. With that being said, I'm going to start with the Spanish one, though, because he was actually from Greece, but known as a Spanish artist. El Greco is probably one of my top.
Oh, okay.
And it's just because it feels like he was an artist that was, you know, we think of artists, or we think of anyone, and we're like, we admire, we're like, one of the attributes that they have is that they were so ahead of their time. And that's something that I saw in El Greco. Like, oh my God, he's like the Salvador Dali of the Renaissance. You know, so ahead of the time.
Yeah.
And so that's probably my top artist. And everything was kind of tilted. I don't know why. I don't know if there's something with the eyes or something. But, so I like that. The imperfection. The other artist would be a French artist, probably an artist by the name of Manet.
I love Manet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Déjeuner sur l'herbe. I saw that at whatever museum I was at, Louvre or whatever, but that's a very unusual painting.
Yeah. It's controversial too. No?
Very controversial. I love Manet.
Yeah. The brush stroke in that artist is really what makes me like, oh my God, I can't believe someone actually you know, and the interesting thing is that he's known as an artist, as a French artist who painted in the Spanish school. So they speak of him as a French artist who painted like a Spaniard.
That's interesting. I see that because, and then so he led the way though for the Impressionists, did he not? Monet was inspired by him, and yes, I took my favorite class when I studied abroad in Paris was art history. I had the best professor. It was amazing. On Monday, we would learn about the stories. Then on Wednesday, we would go actually look at the paintings. And it was just so incredible.
That is so cool.
And I love what you said about this. Parents could take note for this, how somebody gifted you a book when you were a child about the French Impressionists. And that left an impression on you. So we need to be paying attention to our children, their talents, and giving them, I always say books make the best gifts for kids. They might not be so happy about it at the time. They might want like the plastic toy, but all of the books that I was gifted as a child, I still have today with a little inscription from the adult. It's very special. So I love that.
It's true. I need to practice that also more with my son, because you just had me remember that most of the gifts that I got when I was a kid were books.
That's great.
And so that marked a lot of where I was going to go and the kind of discipline I was going to take on. It's so true.
It set your affection for that style of art and everything. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, even if I didn't read many of the books that I was gifted. I was gifted books about, I don't know, philosophy, or I was gifted a book about Seneca. Kid, but and I was gifted a book of marble statues of the Renaissance, and I just looked through them, whatever. But as time went by, as I became a teenager, because they were lingering in my room. They were in proximity.
Yes.
I think that matters so much. I started opening them and reading little captions, and before I knew it, I was reading full books on those topics.
So important for all parents to take note of that. So I have to remember that too, because we give the plastic toys and we give the the things that don't last very long. But I always try to give a book for every birthday, with an inscription in it. I know they'll keep them forever. So yeah, I love that. Okay, just a few more questions. What does your typical workday look like for you, briefly?
Yeah, it's just I try to be an early bird, but many times I'm not. So let's keep it real here. My typical day starts at 6 a.m. That's a typical.
That's pretty early.
Starts at 6 a.m. and I get up, take a shower. And the first thing that I do is I hop on a lift ride and come to the studio. That's the first thing that I do. Just go downstairs.
Even before coffee? No coffee?
No coffee, no nothing. Get to the studio, and then we got bad during the pandemic because we started ordering the DoorDash and whatnot. And so that's how I get my coffee. And breakfast. And so my wife goes and drops off our son to school, and then she'll meet me in the studio, and we'll order breakfast and coffee, and we'll chat for a little bit.
That's really nice, though. That sounds like a nice bonding time.
Yeah, it's a perfect bonding time. It's like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. We chat, we have breakfast, and then I get started. By the time I get started, it's about 7:30, usually 8.
Okay.
And then nonstop till midnight.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, does your wife help you with your business, or she just is there for moral support?
No, she helps me. She works with it. Actually, she's packaging some paintings right now. Our assistant didn't come today, so she's packaging some paintings. That's the sound you hear. It's not tape.
I love it. So it's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
I love that. Very cool. Well, my last question for you is, what advice do you have for aspiring artists? If you were to tell them one bit of advice, what would it be?
Aspiring artists, the first thing that I would say is, or the only thing maybe, is learn the craft. It's the hardest part. Learn the craft. I was one of those artists. A lot of artists skip the craft.
They just say, I'm self-taught. Is that what they say?
Self-taught. Because it takes a very long time. It's a very long learning curve when you're self-taught, and it's a very difficult one. I often describe it as pushing a rock uphill with your eyeball when you're self-taught in anything.
Yes.
It's very different if you're self-taught as if you have an instructor who's teaching you composition, values, tones, measurements and all kinds of things, color wheel and all that stuff. You could learn that in a couple of years as opposed to 20 years. A lot of artists are still making the same mistakes over and over. And if it wasn't because they're like myself, I'm speaking from personal. Uh, if it wasn't because of the many years that I've put into it, um, it would have resulted maybe not so well.
Mm-hmm.
Because the years kind of again, right? They cook the style. You kind of carve yourself a little style,
Yes.
and then you get very good at it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not saying don't be self-taught, but it does help so much if you learn the craft first. And the second thing I would say is I'm going to say three things. Is that okay?
Yes. As many as you like.
So the first one is learn the craft. Almost nobody wants to learn the craft. And that's a very high price to pay. I used to have a mentor who used to say to me, look, when you're going to take on something very difficult, you either have to be very strong or very stupid. You got to pick one. It's very difficult. If you're going to after something very difficult, try to learn how to tackle it, because otherwise you're going to have to be very, very strong, or you're just insane doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. And so I learned the hard way about learning the craft first. The second thing I would say is create a discipline. Do it every day. And if it's not every day, pick your days. It's 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 6 days, 7 days a week.
And be consistent with that.
Be consistent. Maybe you're not as crazy as me and you're not doing 6, 7 days a week. It's fine, but pick your days, right? Pick your days and be consistent and stick to it. It has to have stickability. Like, don't break it. It's 1 hour, 12 hours. I don't know what it is. Stick to it. And know that it's something that you're sticking for the long run. It's not gonna happen overnight. It might take you 10 years. So just to get it lifted.
Yes.
And the third thing I would say is, if you're trying to be an artist who wants to get into market, you have to learn marketing and selling.
That's so funny, because the three things that you just said would be the exact pieces of advice I'd give to a young writer. Take a class, because that's what I did when I was 27. I enrolled in a class. I took this class for 3 years, worked closely with my mentor, refined my craft. And that's how I wrote my first book. Couldn't have done it without that, just at all. That, and then the consistency, I tell that to people all the time. I write every single day. I have 4 kids, so I would only write 1 hour a day. That's all I had, but that's all you need, because I once heard a writer say that. And then the third one, you have to figure out how to market, because no one's going to do it for you. Even if you hire people, they're not going to do as good of a job as you are, because you're passionate about it.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah, even, with traditional publishers, they can only do so much, but I'm every single day marketing my own books, because that's how people find out about them. That's just so funny. That's the exact 3 things I would tell.
And to add to that, when people are often thinking, oh my God, how can I get someone to market my artwork or my book or whatever it is? We must think that marketers are like these magicians that do things. It's going to come down to, if you're paying a marketing firm or company, whatever, to help you market, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go and take that money and pay people to sit in front of a computer and shoot out articles or whatever. They're gonna take your money and they're gonna do what you should be doing, but for fewer hours. It's exactly that.
And not care as much, to be honest.
And not care as much.
So I find YouTube a very powerful marketing tool, because at the end of every single video I do, and I have like 1,000 videos, I show my books. I say, are you interested in learning more? Here are my books. And every single day someone says, oh, I just bought your book. I just discovered your book. YouTube is very powerful. Social media, very powerful marketing tool. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think young artists could be encouraged by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much. It's such an honor for you to be on the channel. And I will list Jose's website and his YouTube channel down below. You can just go to eBay and type in Jose Trujillo, and you will see all of the current bids.
I love that.
And now it's going to be harder for me to get my paintings, because I'm telling all these people about it.
Keep it a secret.
That's okay, though. But yes, thank you so much for being on the channel. And I'm just rooting you on, and I will continue to buy your artwork. I'm going to try to get to that 8 threshold where I own 8 of your paintings. So there you go.
I think you're a collector right now.
Okay. I'm an official collector. Okay, good.
You're the official. You'll get a stamp.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you for joining us here on the Daily Connoisseur. Keep calm and remain classy, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye, everyone.